Hello teachers, in this video we're going to look at the across disciplines icon from Depth and Complexity. And the bottom line for this icon is to just simply help students make connections across many subjects. Find relationships within the discipline or across the discipline. So for example, how do scientists use a computer? How do mathematicians use a computer? How do historians use a computer? It's the same tool, but it's being used differently in different disciplines. What I like to do is that I like to always teach with literature. So I find a book that could have the potential of going across disciplines. I mean, we start by analyzing the character, who this little boy is, and if you haven't read the story, this little boy doesn't want to go to grandma's house because grandma lives out in nature land. So he's a city boy and he doesn't feel any connections with grandma, so he doesn't want to go, but he ends up going because dad has to go on a business trip. So we're talking about the characters and how he over time he's changing his attitude because he finds this raft and the animals are drawn to it. So now we started with literature, we started with character analyzation, and we're looking at the big idea and things, but now we're writing about our own adventures. So now we're going into writing, and then we're studying the animal habitat. So now we're going into science, and then we're studying the history of navigation. So now we're going to social studies or other characters. The grandma is an artist. She loves to carve, make statues out of wood, and she loves to paint, and she loves to do all these things. So now we are going across the disciplines just by using this book, or like this teacher did. She started with the worm, Diary of a Worm, and she started just by reading that story to the story to the students, and then she had the students actually physically touch worms and learn about their habitats and learn about what the worms eat and what kind of environment do they need, and then they begin to write about an environment themselves that they can produce so that worms can also live in their futuristic environment. So they research all about it. Then across disciplines into math, they began to measure the worm and draw the worm and write about the worm. And they also did a game about racing worms. They put them right here in the middle and talk about the details of the game, the rules of the game, but also the ethical issues about this game. Is it ethical to take out the worm out of its habitat and race them? I mean, we talked about those issues, but it all started with just simply a story of a book. So you can use across the disciplines everywhere. In science, in social studies, in language arts, in math, you name it. As long as you're teaching students to make connections, teaching students to find the relationships between what you're doing in science and what you're doing in math, and vice versa. This is definitely an icon that you can help students, and I mean, the more that you use it, just watch how students are going to, their light bulb's going to turn on and they're going to say, hey, I've seen this in writing, or I've seen this in social studies, or we're learning about this in math. And so I love those aha moments when students notice the icon that is helping them to think relationships, connections. So this is the across the discipline icon from Depth and Complexity. We'll see you at the next video.